Easy chair. Yay. Why not? I keep screwing this up. Where the heck is center? Why is this confusing? I'm ready to just move the camera. Give up. That's center enough. All right, there we go. Hey, everyone on TikTok, welcome. If you can give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. That would be greatly appreciated. Welcome everyone on Instagram. Same thing. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. And welcome everyone here on YouTube at Ask Ivy the Medium. Diana, my beautiful producer, is with us here tonight. So she will be taking your questions on any topic under the sun, and I will be giving you some free advice. This is not a free psychic mediumship show. I don't actually do those, rarely, if ever. Okay. So, if you have a psychic mediumship type question, you're going to have to reframe it as an advice question. This show is a lot of fun. So this is my Dear Ivy show. This is my favorite show that I do, where I am doing a play off of Dear Abby, the famous columnist who I used to read as a kid. I would get my fake cup of coffee. It was mostly sugar and cream, and I would flip through the newspaper to Dear Abby, and she would be answering questions about like someone's husband's love affair and how they got busted, or, I'm fighting with my neighbor over this tree. They're trying to cut down my tree, or, I have this issue with my sister or a coworker, and what do I do? And I was obsessed. Okay. I just thought like being Dear Abby would have been the coolest thing in the world to ever be. And so I tested this show out a couple years ago, and you guys ate it up. So I'm happy. If you're happy, let's get at it. All right. So you're going to start dropping your questions. Again, any type of topic goes. You're simply asking for some advice. Now, the difference between me and Dear Abby is that the advice I'm giving is based on my own life experience, and it's based on the spiritual and universal laws. Okay. So it's solid advice, not necessarily based on the world, but based on the spirit world. It's like we have a few questions coming in here already on YouTube. I do have the general questions. So for those of you who've been following the show for a while, I usually like to open if there's time, or to substitute in if we have a little bit of a lull. I like to talk about the questions in recent weeks that my clients or my students have been asking that really fit in with where we all are as a collective. So yes, either they're asking it and I'm like, this is perfect for where we are, or multiple people are asking the same question over and over and over again. There are always themes in these types of things. Okay, so I will be getting to those as well. Let me just jot down what they were real quick. Okay. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. I do want to give a quick shout out here to my YouTube members. Thank you so much for your continued support. Yolanda Fisher, Marcia V, Crystal Henhock, Anna, Nature Calls You, Angie Johnson, McKenna, Jennifer Cole, Jennifer Barone, Abby Hicks, Stella Marie, Kim Elizabeth, Denise Bennett, Jayla Beans, Edgar Velardes, Melissa S., Christine Watts, Miami Heat 305-ish, CJG, Shauna Dempsey, Demetris, Language Through Connection, Deanna Marie. Marae D, Tristan Marion, Me Love 716, Andrea M, and Vanessa. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you want to become a YouTube member, switch over to my YouTube channel at Ask Ivy the Medium. Hit the join button. It'll show you the 3 different tiers of membership options. You receive things like a monthly horoscope, weekly spirit messages, a direct personal email read once a month, which literally pays for the entire subscription itself. You get a monthly mini class with me and an Ask Ivy exclusive show, a bunch of other stuff. It's a ton of fun. Okay, so check it out. And a couple quick announcements while we let everyone tune in here. Meet Your Guides class is coming up. So my psychic mediumship course has begun. Meet Your Guides class and Coffee with Your Angels. Both of these classes are part of the curriculum. So if you wanted to still jump in on the psychic mediumship course, I could fit about 3 more people, and registration is already shut down. Okay, you did miss the first 2 weeks, but it's every Tuesday, so you could still catch up. If you are interested in getting registered, we'll have to put you in manually. So reach out, let me know, we'll get you right in there. But certain classes are open to the public. So you can attend Meet Your Guides March 3rd, Coffee with Your Angels March 10th. Both of these are breaking down the angels and guides that are appointed to you at birth, how they communicate. You meet each one of them individually through these classes. They're tremendous. Okay, ton of fun. So check it out. Get yourself registered. Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com, or you can go to Ivy League psychicacademy.com. Also, if you guys need to book a reading, a psychic fair, a party, or a healing with me, because I'm not doing readings tonight, this is the Dear Ivy Free Advice Show. You can go onto my website. I do work internationally, super simple self-booking system, and you can definitely find some time frame that'll work for you, or you can get a video reading if you need to do that. Holiday parties are starting to book up for spring and summer. Get in on those. Also, if you're looking for like a corporate event, I do work those. I am in entertainment. But also if you're looking for like a psychic fair that you want to bring in to your holiday party, business party, corporate event, okay, all of that is up on my website. We also have coming up Reiki training. So Reiki training registration is going to close soon. That is a big day. It's a long day. I'm not going to sugarcoat, but it's a lot better than stretching it out over weeks and years like a lot of people do. That is not necessary with Reiki training. We are packing it all into about 5 to 6 hours. Registration is now open if you want to get your master's, or if you're a beginner, you want to get your levels 1 and 2. Registration is open for March 14th. All right, so that is up on the website. And is there anything else I was supposed to talk about? Oh, yeah, I'll be back Wednesday. In case I forget to mention this at the end of tonight's show, I will see you guys back here on Wednesday for what blessings are coming your way. You guys loved this in the test series. It is officially added to the 2026 show lineup, and you guys showed such great interest in it. I actually added it to my website so you can get a blessing reading for yourself or gift it to someone else who needs a pick-me-up at any time. All right, so what blessings are coming your way is going to be Wednesday. And then Friday, another show you guys voted in for the 2026 lineup, Past Life Readings, is back. Sunday, I will also be doing a second Roots Revival church service for the month. And that topic is on the art of intimate detachment, loving from safety. So some of us have trouble when we get involved with people remaining detached, holding healthy boundaries, staying an individual. Okay, we're going to break down the art of how you can get intimately involved and still have connection with people while remaining yourself and safe and balanced. Okay, hugely, hugely important topic. All right, we're going to go ahead and get right into these. Yep, we already talked about that. We're going to go ahead and get right into today's show. Okay, thank you. So welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk, and this is my Dear Ivy show, a play off of Dear Abby, the famous columnist, who would take everybody's questions on anything under the sun and give free advice. This is not a psychic mediumship show, so if you had a specific psychic mediumship reading type question you wanted to ask tonight, twist it into some free advice, pose it that way. Diana, my beautiful producer, will be taking your questions from TikTok. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok, Instagram, and here on YouTube at Ask Ivy the Medium. And these answers are based on my own life experience, spiritual and universal laws of the universe. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, what do we have coming up first? So this is from Maraid. Maraid asks, hi, Ivy. I've recently been seeing 222 a lot, and now today it has switched to 555. Why would numbers switch so fast? And what do they symbolize in life? Okay, so why do they switch so fast? And what, okay, do they symbolize? So, thank you, Diana. So let's talk about this. Maraid is noticing what I talk about a lot, but we tend to miss it, where the universe is giving direction through numbers. Numerology, not angel numbers, that's not a real thing, but numerology is a language spirit's using, your higher mind is using, the universe is using, okay? Everybody uses it from time to time. And some people who are numerology people, they have birth dates and death dates that match up, and they're constantly seeing number patterns. It is their main language with the universe. It's for your development. It's to help keep you on a healing path. It's to help keep you fulfilling your karma and your life contract. Life contract, meaning the work you came here to do, as well as relationship contracts and other things. Now, I bring that up because 222 is relationship contracts. So Maraid was seeing 222, and then she started seeing really quickly 555, switched like a light switch. This is what I'm talking about all the time when I say numbers will switch up into different patterns. And you should be paying close attention to when that happens, because it means whatever cycle you were just dealing with is over. We are getting on to something else. Something has changed. So we need to be fast in our movement too. Now, maybe we caused that, or maybe something happened. Maybe there was a tower moment. You know, maybe there was a massive karmic shift. But sometimes we miss it. Things have changed or need to change, and we're not moving fast enough. So you should always pay attention when numbers switch from one pattern you've been seeing a long time to another. 222 is the Trinity, or you could say that it's alignment. It is divine timing. It means you are in alignment with your life contract. Anytime you see a number in a set of 3, okay, because 3 is divinity. 3 is a sign that this is the right thing to do, or you're going the right way. So she was seeing 222. 2 is also soulmate connection. So, Maraid, maybe you met a soulmate during that time. A soulmate being a work contract. A lot of people think that soulmate energy, most importantly, is romantic. It isn't. It can be that, and that's great, but it's a work contract. So it means you were partnering up with people, not necessarily just one, but probably one in particular, where there was something you guys were supposed to work on together. It's for growth, it's for lessons, for development, it's for potential level up. 2 is also about partnerships. So during the time you were seeing the 2s, you may have started to notice that like people were asking you to work with them more. People were being more engaging. People were trying to get your attention. People were trying to get you to sign contracts, partner up with them in some way. Okay. So this could be a million different partnership opportunities all coming up at the same time. And that is your best path forward. That's how you can attain this level up, is by feeding those partnerships, that teamwork mentality, that soulmate connection. Okay. All of those things. Now, the fact that it ended and switched to a 555 that quickly is significant, that that's now over with. And now you are going to have change in multiple areas of your life simultaneously. When we see the number 5, and now that you've got 3 5s here, 555 is what she said. So again, let's revisit that. What is a set of 3? It is the Trinity. Okay? It is divine timing. It is you being in alignment with your life contract. It is the best and highest thing you can focus on at this time. And with the number 5 and the number 7, I like to say you don't really have much control over it anyways. So it's more of an attitude shift. It's a mentality change. Hello, Esmeralda Marie. I love you. She just came by and did a head bump. You can't really do anything about it. So your free will in a situation like a 5 phase is to go with the flow and to not resist. This is, again, change in multiple areas of your life simultaneously occurring. Okay. It can lead to a massive level up if you're doing it right, if you're playing your hand right. All right. But it can be a little jolting. Like it tends to come in with almost like a jolt. It tends to come in with a tower moment. You know, the tower moment or tower card in tarot. I'm not a tarot reader. Correct me if I'm wrong. But hello, you can come on up. I love you. But my understanding of the tower card when I look at it is that there are 2 people falling out of the tower, right? Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. One person on the tower is deciding to jump. They're like, look, this tower's falling. I knew it. You knew it. We all knew it. Let's not play around. I'm going to dictate my future. I'm going to control this as much as I can. It's all coming down. Granted, I can't stop that, but I'm going to control the process as much as I can. The other person is falling out the window, like flailing to their demise and like clueless and not taking ownership over anything. Was probably blind the whole time when they shouldn't have been. So you have 2 different options, you know, even with the tower card. But when I see 5s coming in, I tend to think there was something that happened. Okay, that either forced you to be one or the other, and it may not have been super pleasant. Okay, so now it's up to you to control where that goes. Thank you, Mairead. Great question. Also, what do they symbolize? Yeah, that's what numbers symbolize. Numbers are going to symbolize direction, typically. Sometimes just acknowledgement. Next one up is Eric Evans. Hi, why can't I stop thinking about my soon-to-be ex-wife? She has moved on with someone else and with a woman. Okay, so she's a lesbian now, or she's a lesbian. Interesting. Ooh, this is juicy. And I miss our vacation with our children we share with my ex-wife. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about missing people and why, you know, that can happen. Even when this person has clearly moved on to something else, you know, they are feeling more fulfilled, it sounds like, okay, and you're witnessing this, you're having to watch this. When we have unfinished business, we can become almost obsessed, okay, with getting that person back and being able to rewrite the ending. So this is something they talk a lot about in like psychology or therapy. So maybe your therapist, your counselor, if you're talking with one, you know, has brought this up before. You may want to bring it up. You know, I keep wanting to rewrite this ending, and you can't just rewrite any old ending. When other humans are involved, both people would have to be willing to come to the table and say, I also want to rewrite the ending, or not have an ending at all, which is what that really is. And it just so rarely happens that we have to understand we're creating a sort of fantasy world, an idealistic world, right? An alternate universe of escape, where we can pretend that that connection is still there. It's still alive. Now, it is alive in like your memory. It's alive in your lessons. It's alive energetically because you guys did have a significant contract together. You had significant partnership opportunities, it's co-parenting, whatever, marriage. It's alive in that way that you will continue to learn from it for the rest of your life and even into future lives. When we look at people, there's quite a lot of research on this. When you look and listen to people who are like on their deathbed, they can be in their 90s or 100, and they start to talk quite a lot about old relationships, even back to like middle school, elementary school, their childhood, stuff they've never spoken on. They start bringing all of that up because they're processing. And what they have found is that when people are talking about these relationships, these experiences with these other people from way back when, they never fully learned the lessons. They hadn't fully processed why that person was in their life, why that individual crossed their path. And now they're ready to process all of that. Okay. And that's what can happen when something like this is over and you want to A, rewrite the ending, and B, there may be lessons here that you haven't fully accepted, or you're still working through your lessons. This can be your karma, right? Your karma being your growth, your lessons, your opportunities for development here. And so you really want to turn it around and focus more on you and say, well, clearly I am energetically pulled to this relationship because I haven't gotten everything out of it that I'm supposed to yet. And you can do that in a million different ways, but often the universe will show you something important when the universe is ready or thinks you're ready to see it. Okay. So you can't always push through it. You can't be like, I want to learn. What was I supposed to do? What could I have done better? What should I have seen earlier? Da, 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 da. Like, you can't always just push. You sometimes have to just be like, okay, I've done what I can with the information I have so far. Now I'm going to be open to the universe showing me the rest of it, when it's time. And when it comes up, honor it. Okay. Because it's not going anywhere. But you can also do things like a cord cutting if you are sincere in it. Okay. There's a cord cutting class up on my website where you're saying, I don't want to be interrupted as much with this person's energy. Redirect your thoughts too. Okay. If there's something purposeful, and this is a collective message for everyone, if there's something purposeful in a old relationship or a situation or a hardship, okay, in your life, a loss, grief, whatever, if there's something purposeful for you to get out of thinking about this situation, then it'll come when you meditate on it. Okay. If not, it's just going to feel like a punch in the gut. And you need to be like, okay, I just need to control my mind better. There's clearly nothing for me to learn in this moment on this thing. Okay. I need to stop, because that's what rumination is. Okay. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. That's what ruminating is. That's what cyclical patterns of negative thought are. It's your brain just running away and taking you for a ride. There's a lot of research too on how our brain thinks of the same. I think it's like 60 thoughts per day or 150 thoughts per day. We're just like robots, just repeating stuff. So be mindful of cycles. Okay. Yeah, there's a little bit you could do there. All right, let's move on to another one. This next question coming in is from Jocelyn on TikTok. Hi, Jocelyn. I need advice with my life, with health, friends, love, education. It's like blocked. Okay, so Jocelyn, so this isn't really very specific. I mean, life, health, friends, love, education. Okay, but you feel these areas are blocked. So here's the real question. How do I remove a block? The best way to remove a block is to do an evaluation, looking back at all the things spirit, your higher mind, the universe has been telling you need to do that you've been denying. All the things that you've been shown you need to change that you won't fix, you won't change. Okay. All the things that you were told to get rid of, all the people you're not supposed to be dealing with, all the situations you're not supposed to be entertaining, and finally do it. It's not that you're confused. It's that you're unwilling. There is no time in life when the universe has just abandoned us and we have no sense of, especially in life, health, friends, love, education. This is you. The universe did not bail on you in all of these areas. That does not happen. So you have been shown, you have been told, you've been given the tools, and you have refused. Okay? Hold yourself accountable, take responsibility, make the moves, do the things, cut those things out that you're supposed to. I would say the easiest way to clear up a block is to cut off the habits or the people that you're feeding or the things that have been on the chop block, the stuff you were supposed to detox from first. Usually that'll really get the ball rolling, but there's no way you're this confused. It's a choice. Okay? So start with that. Unblocking is detoxing and creating the changes that you know you need to make. Let's move on to another one. Ooh, that's a good one. I'm seeing a bunch of good ones. Edgar says, could I please get advice on not second guessing myself, such as taking exams and choosing an answer? Ugh. Yes. Yeah, let's break that down. Any other students here? Anyone else going for certifications or Anyone else just struggle with second guessing yourself, being double-minded, being your own worst enemy, shooting yourself in the foot, So, this is an area that I've struggled in personally. I think that the best thing to do when you are dealing with taking exams, you're getting tested in some way. You have to have the right answer or else, right? This is an opportunity for you to stay out of your left brain, your logical brain. Your left side, logical thinking, will bully you around. It will haunt you. It will interrupt the truth. It will make you feel as though there is no other answer than what they are giving. I like to think of the left logical side of my brain, no offense, Virgos, but I like to think of it as Virgos or Capricorns, that paternal, that dominant, that triangle, that type A energy. This is what it is. This is what it is. This is what it is. And so often they're wrong. And there's no out of the box thinking. Okay. I like to think of the right side of the brain as like Sagittarius and Gemini and a little bit of Scorpio, like a little more fluid, a little more artistic, a little bit more like, well, what else? What else could there be? The right side of your brain is where your intuitive intelligence lies. It is the polar opposite of the left side of the brain, typically. So your intuitive intelligence is always, with a 100% guarantee, going to trump your logic and your emotional intelligence, which is like bottom of the barrel. Okay. I feel this. I feel that. It doesn't matter. It's like pretty irrelevant. Unless it's saving your life, it's pretty irrelevant. So you have this opportunity in taking a test to allow your left logical brain to give the first answer. And that's because you studied and because you know what you're doing and you got a college degree and You know what I mean? You've heard other people in positions of authority teach you, train you. You have reason to have some logical thought about the right answer, for sure. But you need to, whenever you're confused, it's like, wait, is this 100% accurate? Whenever you're confused, and only when you're confused, should you pull in the right side of your brain? Okay? The trump card, the wild card, the winner, always a guaranteed correct answer because energy never lies. It can't. Call in the right side of your brain. Shut off the left. Get out of that. Go over to the right and ask your intuitive intelligence, what is the right answer. Now, this is especially easy when it's multiple choice, and you can horse around with it ahead of time. You could practice this. Don't wait till your exam to, crank out these tricks. Like, practice this when you're studying and you get confused. Your intuitive intelligence will make very clear what the right answer is. And I'm going to recommend you always just go with that then. Bump logic out. If it's different, hopefully and often they will match. So you're like, I was thinking that. That is the best possible solution, not just with an exam, but at any point in our lives when we're making a decision, is if we can have intuitive intelligence match logic. Now, rarely will feelings follow after that, but I guess that's for another day. So best case scenario, they match. If not, go with the intuitive right brain. Good luck. Good luck on that, Edgar. All right, we're going to move on to another one. If you guys are tuning in late, this is my Dear Ivy show. It's a free advice show. So you can drop any type of question, and I will be taking, Diana, my producer, is taking them from Instagram and TikTok. We're popping them up here on the screen on YouTube. And we're also taking, of course, as always, here from YouTube. And let's go ahead. Also, I forgot to ask you guys, if you could give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment of any kind. I would love to hear, especially though, where you're tuning in from. And please do share this video, subscribe. All right, McKenna is up next. McKenna says, does the person in the relationship that manipulated someone into staying, but had no intentions of putting in the effort, truly get karma or consider putting themselves first? I hope they learn. Okay, so McKenna, you could take that down, Diana. Thank you. So let's call it what it is. Manipulation and abuse. You get a lot of people, especially in heterosexual relationships, men in particular, who feel that they are entitled to do this to women because they are raised up from birth to extract from women, from society, from, everything. They're trained up from birth to extract. Women, on the other hand, are trained up from birth to give excessively, without question, to hold space, to overlook red flags. They'll give back to me later. Let me give first. I can give. I'm good at it. Therefore, I should. Okay? So 2 people are going to get hit with karma in a situation like this, because if they come in and they manipulate and they lie, and they will often say things like, well, I just tried to convince you to stay with me because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was capable of giving. I just don't deserve you, or I couldn't give you everything that you wanted, or I'm not right for you, or it wasn't enough. Bullshit. Bullshit. Okay? Bullshit. They knew damn well that what they wanted was your attention, your affection, your energy. They're a mooch. They're a vampire. They're a bottom feeder. They knew exactly what they were doing. And when they finally got busted and were really ready to get cut off, they came up with that excuse that they didn't know they couldn't give. So it is a manipulative, abusive tactic that everyone raised up in the patriarchy has witnessed. So all types of people, not just men, but all types of people can use. It's a narc tactic. It's narcissistic. It's extracting from someone with an entitlement attitude that you can take and take and take from the people around you who love and support you and never give anything back to them. Never give anything back. And the reason these systems persist is because not enough people call those losers out on it. But karma does exist. And karma will come for them. And we're in a karmic cycle right now. I put 2 videos out on this yesterday from, I think it was like the 14th or the 13th to the 20th. Karma is being delivered. So go check out those videos I put out. It was like, get your popcorn, get your front row seat to the karma show, because here it comes. And immediately I started noticing people's posts, all the readings I did today for clients is karma, 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 karma hitting. It's hitting hard right now. So this is the best time for you to witness. Will it hit everyone? Yes. Will it necessarily be in exactly the way you want it to be? I don't know. I hope for you it will. But and McKenna, I'm not saying you're tied up in this per se, but if you did, let's just say you chose to allow someone to take you for a ride like this. There is no way that along the way you weren't aware that it was happening. You maybe overlooked a red flag. Maybe you turned a red flag pink. Maybe you said, well, I'm just going to hold space. Maybe you took them back when you shouldn't have. Maybe you accepted, a BS apology, knowing in your gut it wasn't right. Maybe you had no proof that this person was consistent and you were lying to yourself and you let them lie to you. Maybe you had a ton of pattern if you looked at their past, if you were willing to, and you said, all I have is proof through this pattern that this person is manipulative, lies, claims that they don't know who they are, says that they're going to try, but they never do, or they do, but they can't be consistent with it. I have a ton of proof that this person has had this problem or does this to other people, whatever, has done this to me directly, and you still allowed it. There's your karma. Your karma is going to also come in because the universe gives negative karmic kickback to anyone who is not protecting themselves, holding themselves accountable, or centering themselves. So both people get hit with karma in a situation like this. Both are a crime. All right, let's go into another one. This is Inspired Soul 333. When being in my purpose, how would things change in my life? Is it rapid? Let me write that down real quick. Hold on, Diana. It depends on what we're talking about. So Inspired Soul. Okay, when I'm in my purpose, will change come rapidly? Okay. So a couple different things with this. When you are a newbie to it, when you are deciding maybe for the first time or you're revisiting it, but you haven't been consistent with it in the past, when you're coming back to your true path, to your authenticity, your life contract, the work you're genuinely here to do, that's alignment. The universe isn't going to be like, you're doing it, here are all the blessings. And if you did it and then left and then you're coming back and revisiting it, it's usually because all the blessings didn't come in at once. And you got sick and tired. You were like, why do all this work if I'm not going to get paid out? So you bailed. So if you come back, the universe again isn't like, she's back, let's give her all the blessings. The universe is gonna, in its sweet ass time, give you your payouts. And what the universe likes to do is test you over and over and over again to make sure that you are going to stick with it and that you are going to defend it, protect it. It's almost like fiercely choosing it over other things. And that when the tests come in, which I like to think of as like opportunities instead of tests, that you don't allow them to become blocks, that you face each one of those tests, recognizing past mistakes, past errors, and what the higher vibration is, and you choose that higher vibration, even though it may not come with reward right away. Even though you may feel that it's far more familiar to choose the lower level, it's more comfortable, everyone else is doing it, it's acceptable, and you're saying, no, not for me. So it's really choosing you. Most people who have this type of question don't often choose themselves. They are overreaching with other people. They allow for toxic, negative, lower vibrational things. They stay too long. You're always the last one to leave the party. You're entertaining things that are below you. You haven't chosen you enough. And you've probably created a lifestyle for yourself where now it's pretty hard to choose you. Maybe you've had kids. Maybe you are caught up in other obligations. Now it's really, really hard to choose you. So you are going to have to prove it repeatedly. Okay. But you will have regular opportunities to do that. I'm sorry. Did I poke you in the eye? I'm sorry. And know that the payouts really start to come after, let's say, 3 tests. I like to say that the universe will tell you something 3 times and then we'll pull back. Spirit will do the same thing 3 times and then they pull back. And it's kind of this way with tests. And not to say other tests won't happen after it, but you could start to get the rewards after passing 3 times, ballpark. Okay. Yes. So if there is a situation where you are choosing, to do the right thing and you've already kind of gone through the ringer on that a little bit and you're getting faster about it and you're getting more strict and you're not backpedaling all the time, yes, you could have immediate results. Absolutely. Immediate results. Yes. Often though, when we are in alignment with our purpose, and this is just sort of a general message for everyone, when we are in alignment with our purpose, our life contract, we're doing the right thing, we're choosing the higher vibration, right? We tend to see blessings come in unexpected ways. So the universe never just totally leaves you hanging. They may not be the payouts that you're looking for, but it's like people are kinder. People are smiling at you more. You may receive little gifts. Maybe a butterfly comes and, you know what I mean, spends a little time with you. A little bird wants to land on your shoulder. Your favorite movie comes on. You haven't seen that in 15 years, come on. Somebody forgets to charge you for things. I went through a little bit of a karmic level up. I don't even want to talk about it, but like 2 months ago, and I did well. I got to pat myself on the back. I did well. And all of a sudden I started getting everything for free. And I noticed today that like no one billed me, like no one's billed me for anything in a long time. And that was just, I think, the universe's way of and it started with that situation, like the situation where I normally would have vomited and passed out and I would have had a horrible time. I did really well. I used my tools. I passed the test and they never even charged me, but neither did anyone else after that. So it can be random things. What I would have preferred as a payout is to never have to go through that again. That didn't happen. Okay. But I am getting blessed. And should I ever have to go through it again, it won't be as hard. I'll be better at it, but it comes in unexpected ways. So don't slap the universe in the face and say, well, this isn't the blessing that I wanted or expected. I would expect it to hit me more in the area where I'm making the change. No. Any type of blessing is a good sign that you're going in the right direction. Okay. And that's never an accident. So yeah, an attitude of gratitude about what is coming in. All right, let's move on to another one. These are amazing questions. I love this. All right, another one. This is McKenna. How can I disconnect from constantly thinking everything is a sign so that I can actually know what my guides are telling me? Well, that's funny because I literally just said, that when things are happening, like recognize the signs. That's just funny timing on that. However, I do think that I notice this with my students a lot when they're early on in the psychic mediumship course curriculum, every bird they see, they think is a sign. Every feather, every shape in the clouds, every single number that they notice, like it's like, calm it down a little bit. Birds do happen. Okay. They do. Numbers on clocks tend to happen, So I think that understanding that, anything really significant for you to know will come typically in sets of 3, and you can ask for that. So when you see a sign and you think it's directional, it's steering you the right way. You can say to spirit, the universe, your higher mind, give that to me 2 more times so I know for sure that's the right way to go. And if you don't see it a couple more times, it was probably nothing. I don't think there's a ton of harm though in seeing everything as a sign, as long as it's not doing damage. I tend to see everything connected, numbers, thoughts that pop in my head, songs that come on the radio, the thing my cat just did, something you guys say on a show, da, 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 something that happened in one of my readings with my clients. Like I tend to see everything is connected, and that's not a bad thing. It's usually pretty accurate. Just don't make up your own storylines to fit your narrative. You know what I mean? If you find that you have one going on and it's not a truthful narrative, or, be mindful that you can also conjure signs. So a lot of people are like, oh, well, I noticed this, I noticed that. And I'm like, you probably just manifested it because you want to live this lie of a lifestyle or something like that. You know what I mean? Also, you can ask your guides, in particular, your joy guide who watches over your mental and emotional well-being and your spiritual development. In particular, talk to your joy guide and ask your joy guide for the next few weeks to use a symbol system with you so that you can better identify when it is totally accurate. And you can even ask your joy guide to help you to notice a symbol, but also have a physical feeling to go along with it. And, that's it. You're setting up your symbol system. You can control it. Absolutely. We're going to move on to another one. This is, I don't know who this is from, but it says, how do you handle comparing yourself to others? Okay. So how do you handle comparing yourself to others? This was very similar. It's funny you're asking this because one of the collective questions that I was going to bring up for today's show is incredibly similar to this. And that was, how do I resist caring so much about what other people think of me? All right. Like if they don't like me. Okay. So those are both very similar. So let's get into this. How do you care less when other people don't like you? And how do you handle comparing yourself to others? How do you handle comparing yourself to others? Okay. Excellent question. Yep. This is the collective. I would love to hear in the comment section how many people are feeling this right now. So when you, let's get the first one knocked out here. When people don't like you, people are causing trouble for you, I would say the first thing to understand is that they are threatened. They feel threatened by you because they recognize that you have something they cannot attain. This is typically high integrity, a fun character or personality. This is a higher moral code of conduct or ethical code of conduct. And this is a certain, I want to say, likability that the universe is always rewarding. You are typically in a higher vibration than them, and they can't get that from hustling. They can't get that by throwing you under the bus. They can't achieve it unless they do the hard work on themselves. And they want to be lazy. And so they hate you for being that person that you've probably worked really hard on becoming, and protecting and not selling out. Because in the past, you probably have reached points of loneliness or desperation, or, you were being bullied. Things got so uncomfortable that you did probably sell parts of your soul off just to be accepted, but you probably learned that is not the way to go. And so now you are choosing you instead of conforming. And there's a price to pay for that, and that is jealousy. So try to see it as a compliment as much as possible and stay on your journey. Know that karma for people who choose a higher vibration instead of that jealous, toxic, low-level junk, know that the universe highly protects people who choose a higher vibration, people who choose themselves, people who choose morality, humanity, being empathetic toward others, and the karmic bitch slap that these other people will get right in front of you is always on the way. It may not come in the timely manner that you would like to see, but it is on the way. And you'll get to witness, and you'll get rewarded also right in front of them. right before their eyes. Level up for you. Okay. And quite frankly, you have to have like a sense of humor about it, because it does get to a point where it's ridiculous. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's hilarious. I love it. So let them hate. Okay. Shine so bright you burn their eyes. Be you. And make very clear when you're around people who are hating on you that it's like water off a duck's back. Okay. Those are the best ways. I think it's through practice, really, that you get that bulletproof vest, that you aren't as bothered by it. And the universe's reward and karmic payout system helps a lot. Now, this other part of the question, this is like a part 2 then, how do you handle comparing yourself to others? I personally don't ever compare myself to anyone else, because I know that each human being on earth has a contract that they signed before they came here. So they have certain past lives that are affecting them currently. They picked their parents. They picked their life course, whether it was going to be extremely difficult or not as much. They picked the lessons, the growth. They picked what they were going to do for work. They picked all these things. I mean, even right down to like the body, we pick all of these things. So why the hell would you want to compare yourself to anyone else when they have a completely different contract than you? Mind your own business, stay in your lane, keep your nose down. You know what I mean? Keep your eyes on your own business. The more you do that, the more the reward system for you and the easier it becomes to not pay any attention to what is going on out there. This is about knowing yourself. This is about trusting that you are unique and you have your own journey, and that no one is an extension of you. Not your children, not your friends, not your lovers, not your parents, not your family, not your dog. Like, no one is an extension of you. Everyone is on their own journey. And you need to romanticize yours more. You need to be like, I am all about my life. I am all about my life contract. I am in a romantic dance. This is every day me wanting to fully invest in myself and pamper myself and grow and, be in alignment with what I came here to do, and know that it's supported by the universe. And this is where the magic happens, and I'm going to meet the right people. I'm going to, be able to fully explore those relationships I have contracts with. Those are the important ones, and I know that, and that's worth my time. And everyone else is like pretty irrelevant. Okay. Because that's the other major thing that I think a lot of people miss, is that every single person you cross paths with is not necessarily anyone you're supposed to care about or entertain or even really be talking with very much. Okay. You have people you have contracts with, and those are important to pay attention to. Everything else, who cares, what they're doing? I would also be very careful in situations where people try to convince you that you should act more like them or do what they're doing, because talk about the blind leading the blind. Okay. They also don't know who they are, because people who know who they are, people who understand their life contract, they're not hustling anyone else. They're not throwing anyone else under the bus. They're not backbiting. They're not gossiping. They literally don't care what anyone else is doing. It's all about them all the time, Yes, 100%. I do see it as a major red flag too. When someone comes around and tries to like convince you that maybe your decisions are wrong or different or off in some way. So just focusing on you. Also, I would just say with this comparing, at some point you also have to stop comparing. A good example is that I have gotten in the past pretty fed up watching people, like whether they steal my curriculum or they took what I said, they made their own video out of it or whatever, and mine didn't do well, and like a white man stole it and it skyrocketed, or I'm Latina, maybe some white lady took it and she's blonde haired and blue eyes and she snagged my shit and it blew up for her. I am constantly being put through the ringer in episodes like that. And I learned that I can't compare that way either. It is a rigged system. It is a racist system by design. And there are a million things that may be keeping you down, whether you're a woman, you're marginalized in some way, you're a minority. I mean, whatever. There are always going to be people within the system, right, who will make it hard for you to get credit for things. And that's where comparison can really start to get toxic, because all you could do is chip away at those systems every single day. Be committed to that so that you know you're fighting that system. But also know that your rewards, while they may not come through a rigged system in the way that they should, the universe will always deliver your rewards. The universe will never let you down. Your blessings, your payouts will come. Okay. But they may not come in exactly the way you thought they would. Look at Bad Bunny. Look at what Bad Bunny just pulled off. Okay. And like, he was bagging groceries 10 years ago. And like, it was the first time we had any representation, like really ever on a scale like that. Okay. From what was it? The Grammys to the Super Bowl to bam, 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 and one of the things he did that I believe got him there, when I recognized him as a significant player in all of this, it was when he started displaying the feminine on his body through clothing. I haven't seen anything like that in an authentic way since Kurt Cobain. He's in harmony. He's in balance. He minds his own business. And he's always saying, like, I do my own thing. Do your own thing. Fly your freak flag. Do you, and don't worry about what everyone else is doing, because your payouts will come. We are going to move on to another one. This is Joel Big Head Turtle Clan from TikTok. Said, I needed to hear this. Thank you. That made me feel better. You're welcome. I don't know what was said. I'll have to go back and rewatch these. Sometimes they're fun. McKenna says, I had a psychic I trusted for 2 years tell me he would never leave. She was so accurate, but I don't want to believe the person for me I have to wait for or watch treat me terrible. Thank you, Ivy. Yeah, we have to be careful. We have to be careful with the readers that we trust, because often they don't take into account free will. So they just read everything like it's destiny charted, or they read your mind and they're really psychic and telepathic at reading your mind, and they just tell you what you want to hear. So they tell you stuff that's not at all true. It's not in alignment with the universe. It's accurate in that you were thinking it or you were wanting it, but that doesn't make it right. Okay. There's a big difference between psychic work and light work. Okay. So yeah, we have to be real careful with that. Absolutely. And anytime, and this is just sort of a collective message, anytime you are entertaining some relationship that is below you, it's degrading you. It's, forcing you to disrespect yourself. It's draining you. The universe is not supporting that at all. So if readers are telling you, oh no, it's supported, keep at it, they're making a ton of cash off of you. They're getting you to come back around. They're telling you what you want to hear. It's not good. It's not right. The universe will never, ever. That is the law. The universe never supports when you entertain something that is below you. You will get negative karmic kickback for that. The universe delivers punishment because you're not doing your part in protecting yourself and holding yourself accountable. So your whole world can fall apart, not just that relationship. This is Ashley Buffalo said, I needed this. I am moving to Colorado at the end of the month and I'm scared. I have 3 kids. Any opinions, please? Okay, so Ashley Buffalo says, I'm moving to Colorado with 3 kids. Okay. Well, I think the important thing to always understand when you're doing something big, like a move, whether this be your residency, this be your business, it is one of the top 3 most stressful things, according to research. doctors, therapists, okay? One of the top 3 most stressful things a human being can go through. So when you start getting tripped up, thank you for the hearts on TikTok. When you start getting tripped up and you're like, oh my God, maybe I'm making the wrong move. What if this? What if that? That's probably just your nervous system reacting to the fact that it's like this divorce, okay, or like losing your job. Like these are the biggest stressors on people. You're gonna have a reaction, and that physical reaction, that left logical brain reaction, that paranoia, none of that is abnormal. So try to see it almost like a sailboat. It's going by. It's like, oh, here comes another panic attack. And then, it's like, oh, there goes another paranoid thought that my world is going to explode. Oh, here's this horrible, feeling. My emotions I'm having an emotional meltdown. What if my kids' lives are terrible after this? Like, oh, there it goes. You're just like, there's another ship. There's another ship. There's another ship. Just let it float by. Okay. Because a lot of it is just a literal physical human reaction to change. Humans hate change. We despise change. No matter how much we say we want free will and we want our freedom, we don't like change. We're just not really cut out for it, I think the other really important thing to do is to just make sure that you have made this decision from a high vibration. It's the right thing for you to be doing, and you have already clearly come to that conclusion that this is the best choice. And at that point, you at some point need to stop. You at some point need to stop analyzing it and overthinking it and worrying about it, and just say, I am a grown-ass adult. I've made up my mind. I have made a decision. I'm going forward with this decision. I'm shutting off my brain. I'm not going to get, pushed around by these intrusive thoughts. I, maybe will have to tweak some things. Maybe some better choices, can be made once I'm stable and I'm in Colorado. And when I get up to bat, if I'm ever called up to bat and I have to make those changes, I'm confident that I can do that at that time. And that's it. And that's it. And you replace worrisome thoughts with that. I move constantly. A lot of you probably, for those of you who followed me for a while, I move a ridiculous amount, typically every 2 to 3 years. This is the longest I've been anywhere I can't even remember when. Probably since I was a kid. We had this one apartment for a few years. I move constantly. I was on Main Street in Williamsville, Amherst area there in like the Buffalo area. I was on Main Street there for a while, and I moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in like an 8-year period, I think it was. And everyone was like, she moved again, like whatever, you know what I mean? And then after that, I moved a few more times. So it is, and I do the same thing with houses. Like I'm constantly going. And I think at some point it stops being a massive point of stress and it becomes something you see as strategy. You're defying the human limitations of the nervous system. And you're saying, these are level up opportunities and I'm going to take them. I'm not going to be pushed around by the fear, by my ego, right? Fear, manipulation, and control. I see it as a level up opportunity. I'm going to go take it. Do I know it's there? Not 100%. Am I going to go off of free will and in blind faith and I'm just going to go explore it because I feel like it's right? Yes, I'm going to take my opportunities. Okay. And eventually you're kind of numb. You're relatively numb to the whole drama of the move itself, and knowing that you made the right decision for your children is also smart. Keep that in mind. I made the right decision for my children, because if you go in there with a willy-nilly attitude, they can smell it like blood in the water. So be, strong-minded for them. We're going to move on to another one. This is Monica from TikTok. How do you manifest friendships? Okay. So I did Monica on TikTok. Thanks for the hearts on TikTok. Could everyone stop and give this video a thumbs up? Let me know in the comment section where you're tuning in from. Share this as well. I did a church service, so it's here on YouTube at Ask Ivy the Medium. It's called How to Make Friends. And I think it ran like 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. This was a long one. Normally my church services are like 1 hour and I'm out of there, okay? This was a long one, if I recall correctly. So go on to my YouTube at Ask Ivy the Medium and put in the search bar, How to Make Friends. When you are trying to manifest friendships, one of the things I talk about in there is seeing yourself as the provider, seeing yourself as the queen on the throne, seeing yourself as having all of these attributes, these qualities, these benefits about you. I am strong in character. I am solid and show up for people. My handshake means everything. My reputation is based on my integrity. I have so much to offer in relationships with others, whatever it is. Okay. Whatever it is that you know about yourself, you kind of bring to the table. You want to visualize yourself as the queen on the throne, who never chases anyone, who never needs, who never overreaches. You are simply available with all of these amazing gifts, and people are welcome to approach. You want to visualize that they can now approach the throne. Maybe you'll say yes to them, maybe you won't. The thing is about this type of manifestation is that you attract everything. So you attract all types of people who want friendships, or some of them could be users, one-sided, codependent. You will also attract some of the higher vibrational people that you would be deserving of, that you are in alignment with. Okay. So it's up to your discernment once you do this to weed out the weak and not just entertain anything. But there is an opportunity in you, instead of looking out at humans and saying, I need this, I want this, I have a void that needs to be filled. That is sending a very sort of codependent, wanting message out to the universe. And immediately, law of attraction kicks in. And you either attract no friends or you attract bad friends. You attract more of what you don't want. So manifestation and law of attraction need to be used in harmony with one another from a place of power, confidence, alignment, knowing what you deserve. And then let it show up. Let them show up. And again, measure it out and use your discernment. What's good, what's not, what's temporary, whatever, I would also say that if you want more friendships, be a friend. A lot of people are one-sided these days. A lot of people stiff when they said they were going to show up for something. A lot of people don't follow up. A lot of people aren't genuinely interested in your life. It's just take. And this is relatively new. In the 80s and the 90s, friendship meant something. Your word meant something. Saying you were going to be somewhere meant something. Having someone's back meant something. Showing up with a bat to protect them meant something. Being able to call on your cousins to handle some business meant something. People today are wishy-washy. They're weak-minded. They're one-sided. It's lame. And you want to make sure that you are showing up in the way you want to receive. Okay. So like, this is the type of friend I want to get. I have this in my head now. Okay. So I'm going to be that for other people. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be straightforward. I'm going to be transparent, whatever it is. You have to be that thing. So also do an evaluation and look and see if there are any areas of your life where you could improve and like be a better friend before you can get better friends. Because the universe is never going to give you anything you haven't earned. You know what I mean? You can't have anything if you can't pay for it, basically. But times have changed and you want to be reasonable about that. I talk about that quite a lot in that free class. And about how we have no more third spaces, how there's a loneliness epidemic. And I'm not talking about dudes who cause that for themselves. I don't care about that. I'm talking about actual just people in general. There is a lot of loneliness that's leading to an increase in heart disease and other things because, again, there are no third spaces and people, it's at an all-time high where people aren't making new friends into adulthood. Gen Z has like no friends. They are also, even if they make new friends, they're not keeping those friends. People also aren't having parties anymore. They're not getting together now that third spaces are gone. They're not like hosting anymore. They're not bringing, people together. I went and I finally got certified. The guy from Rusted Root trained me in drumming. And I started drum circles and we're going to be launching them, this spring and summer when the weather gets better. But the reason I'm doing that is because there's no more community. People are so desperate for friendship. Spirit led me to host something that people could come and do for fun, or do socially, get together with the like-minded. And it's my contribution. But people need to hold themselves more accountable. You are not the only one who's going through this. And I'm sorry that you're feeling it. And I think the best thing to do, are exactly these things, but also let it come to you. Show up and then let it come to you. Get rid of that neediness for it because all it does is push it away or attract the wrong type of people. Okay. I would also, and this is just sort of a general message for everyone, if you're looking to make new friends, be careful showing up to like, whether it be a meetup or it be like a book club or it be like a dance class or it be a workout class or it be like this new thing that I want to do, or you know what I mean? Like get into that stuff, but be careful showing up with someone else because a lot of people go, oh, well, I have to have a friend to come with me. No, you don't. A lot of people, whether they want to admit it or not, are showing up to those types of events these days because they are looking to make new friends. And if everyone is freaking paired off, if you're spending your whole time in this new group setting, talking to the one friend you brought with you, how are you going to, show up places alone? Show up alone, have open body language, be willing to meet new people. And value all types of relationships, not just like I have to get a BFF, but like I enjoy this acquaintance. Older women, it's a whole like TikTok world. Older women especially talk a lot about that they got past that need for a BFF, that those relationships ending after 16, 20, 25 years, that's unfortunate, and they often become one-sided. But that they enjoy more women that they can have lunches with, people they meet through community, helping the community, keep it light, keep it casual and value those other relationships. Not everything has to be like, serious and deep. I had a client today who said something about like, I want a friend who I know will be there for me through hell or high water because I would do that for them. It's like, yeah, but doesn't that sound a little heavy? Doesn't that sound like, how about if I don't have to go through hell or high water? How about if my world doesn't come burning down? How about if I'm not even calling that into existence? I'm never going to need anything from you. So we're okay just hanging out and having drinks from time to time. You know what I mean? Like we need to lighten it up. We need to lighten it up and get back into the basics. Great question. Fun topic too. Wellness Sanctuary says, how can you tell if your kids have any psychic, mediumistic, or empathic abilities? Okay, so I have a class up on the website called Psychic Kids that can definitely help you break it down and work with them. Okay, it's a 2-hour training. Work with them so that they can control it, while we're not trying to shut it down, but we are trying to control it. And then, as they get more, it's something that can be handled because it's overwhelming for adults. Okay. But I would say that when you're looking at your children, they're psychic when they say things, they make premonitions ahead of time. This is how my family knew I was psychic. Okay, having premonitions, saying it out loud and being like, how did you know that? Why did you know that? It's also closely connected to messenger of death syndrome when they're children. So they can predict when someone in the family is going to get sick or someone's going to die. So we don't ever want to shame them when they say things ahead of time or be like, well, that's dark. Why would you say that? They often make predictions about the heavy stuff. They are very accurate in judging other people. So if you have a child who doesn't like someone or gets real quiet or reserved or detached, they're keeping their cards close to their vest around someone, that person's up to something. Then we have the prophecy dreams. So they have very intense dreams all the time, prophesizing about things that are going to happen. They may be prone to nightmares and things like this. They tend to be stuck for a matter of years in a past life. So it's not at all uncommon to, if your child is psychic, to see that they are up until the age of like 8. I mean, the longest it typically goes for people is like 15, but where they are split, they are this person now, but they are also sharing with who they were in a past life. So they may say things to you, like they may remember you from a past life too, like past life flashbacks in general, where they're like, oh, I remember when, the house was burning and you fell off the roof, and you're like, what? What 3-year-old would come up with something like that? They have flashbacks. Okay, so that's a sign of increased clairvoyance. When we talk about empathic ability, you're talking about a child who has tendencies to be extroverted or likes to play and express themselves. But then when they get around a bunch of other people, bright lights, loud noises, they melt. They become a completely different human being. Or maybe they're not really an extrovert. They tend to be a little more introverted, but they simply cannot stand being around large groups of people. They cannot stand family events. When they're in school, they don't handle transitions well. So maybe they're okay when they're at their desk in a lesson, but as soon as it's time to go play, they're detaching, they're disassociating, they're going in and out of trance states. They cry a lot. Okay, they cry over other people's feelings. They cry over animals. They cry over inanimate objects. They feel that objects are talking to them, because empathic ability is the reading of other people, spirits, atmospheres, objects. It's energy manipulation at the core. And so it's energy reading at the core and over absorption of that energy. They would feel the weight of the world on their shoulders. Empathic children, and this is often genetic. So look at the family and see if there were people in the family who had drug and alcohol abuse issues. And then you had people in the family who handled it better than those other people, and they were tremendous healers. But they would feel the weight of the world on their shoulders, because empaths don't understand that it isn't their job to fix all the evil in the world and the suffering. Then when we talk about mediumship, you've got things like heart palpitations, irritable bowel, sleep disturbances. They may be night owls. They may not sleep at all between 3 and 5:30 in the morning, or they're always up during that time, the haunting hour. They get a lot of ear ringing. So like tinnitus in the left, tinnitus in the right. Numbness, maybe they're in and out of the doctors a lot, dizzy spells, nosebleeds, trance states, passing out. I can't prescribe a diagnose. I think of Danny in The Shining, that movie, where he had time warps, or he would like pass out. Mediumship can be very intense because it is a form of possession. It is trance. Yeah. Saying things and you're like, what did they say? That's a weird thing for a child to say. That wasn't them. Spirits are channeling through them, right? This is why kids can be creepy. You're looking at them and you're like, kids creeping me out, because they're wide open vessels. I mean, any spirit can come and channel through a child, and it's something you have to watch with the mediumship kids. It's a little odd. They would also be the first ones, and this was like in my family, I was the first one to receive a visit from a deceased loved one. It happened when my grandmother passed, it happened when my grandfather passed. And it was like, Ivy saw her, Ivy saw him, Ivy, got the visit. I always got the first visit because I was already connected. I was connected the whole time. I never disconnected, when they passed. And typically they would, at 3 years old, and then it peaks at 5 and 6 years old, they would be talking to spirits that you can't see, but maybe like that picks up in photographs or video, like orbs and things like this. And they're playing and interacting with spirits. Yeah. Great question. Never a dull moment. Never a dull moment with those kids, right? All right, let's move on to another question. This is from Nika. Nika says, how do you set healthy boundaries without feeling guilty? Okay, Nika, healthy boundaries without guilt. I think just putting yourself first and starting by understanding your programming. So the only people who feel guilty about setting boundaries are typically women. There are people who've also grown up in sort of societal constructs, or, you know, even within your, like, you know, your race, your ethnicity or culture. Like, there is a lot of previous programming that makes you feel as though you are responsible for everyone else. Okay. You're selfish if you're paying attention to your own needs. You are ungrateful if you were to set a boundary with an elder. You are becoming too independent. You know, this could also be seen as vanity. I mean, there are a million ways that you could be guilted into thinking that you're doing something shameful. It's punishable, you know. And that's exactly the way the system is designed. Okay. So there are a bunch of different systems. You're going to want to look back at the systems that have influenced you. Number one. Okay. The systems that have programmed you to believe that you setting a boundary is a character flaw. It's an offense at the core. You're going to have to break down the patriarchy. Patriarchy is another system designed to make everyone in the world subservient to, like, white men. You know, we have to cater, we have to give without question, give them the power, give them the attention, give them everything. So look at some of the systems within which you get triggered. Where are you feeling this guilt? With what kind of boundaries? With whom? Where are you trying to set these boundaries, and who is triggering you to feel like in that instance something is wrong? You know, you're wrong. Okay, why is that? There are other places in your life where you're probably okay with setting boundaries. Maybe you never even think twice about it. You didn't even notice you set a boundary. That's notable. Why is that? Why is it that you could do it so well over here, but not over here with this guy? There's a reason for that. It's by design. Okay. So break down where this came from. And then you can start your journey of removing that guilt. I like to see it as a challenge. I like to see it as a test in my own life. Whenever someone is, there was this guy, here's a good example. I was just thinking of him the other day, and then he popped up on my social media. There was this guy who was constantly reaching out to me to, like, get together for a date. And I don't remember. Our friendship went a little ways back, and I didn't necessarily want to, like, offend him, but I also wasn't getting together for that date. Like, it wasn't happening. I don't remember why, but I kept saying no, you know. And he found out I had a day off, and he got on his motorcycle and drove an hour and a half to where I was. Cuckoo cuckoo. Okay, an hour and a half to where I was. And, like, thought that he was going to grace me with his presence, and tried to guilt me because he uninvited came an hour and a half and invested his whole day. You know what I mean? Thought he was going to guilt me into spending time with him. And so, you know, here he was, like, knocking on my door and trying to, you know what I mean? I went on my jog. I did my life. I could see him. I wasn't paying attention. I left him outside. I wouldn't even open the door. It'd be a cold day in hell. You know what I mean? I didn't even invite you here. So he had this. Is just a prime example of how some people or systems or situations have a built-in attitude of entitlement. And they really do believe that you are here to give them your time, attention, free labor, and they are gracing you with their presence. You are lucky to be part of them, even when you don't want them. Okay, even when they're not invited. It's ridiculous. And start to see it for what it is. Okay, that is a toxic, weird, twisted system or situation or person you've gotten involved in that they are causing you to feel guilt, and or you need to identify why you're doing that to yourself based on previous programming. That should do the trick. But I like to see it as a challenge. I enjoyed how upset he was. I enjoy how upset he still is today about it. You know what I mean? I was like, I enjoy it. I'll be the one to teach you a lesson. See if I care. You know what I mean? And I wasn't affected at all. I lived my life that day. You know, he wasn't going to get a word out of me or a minute of my attention, because I don't owe you jack. You know, outrageous. And that's the world. The world is outrageous, and it will take everything from you and then step over your corpse. Okay. So, like, you better set boundaries unapologetically for yourself. Okay. Everywhere, every day, with everything. You kind of have to. All right. We're going to move on to another one. This is Jacob Marinek. How do I know the difference between intuition and fear? Okay. Are you related to Jared Marinek? Jacob Marinek. Intuition versus fear. Okay. So this one's a little bit tricky. I spend a considerable amount of time with my students on this in the psychic mediumship course. This one's a little tricky, especially if you've gone through some stuff. If you have gone through trauma, abandonment, if you have been betrayed, okay, so betrayal trauma, if you have taken significant losses or hits to your resources, you know, to your career, this is about knowing that fear is coming from your emotions. Fear is closely connected to ego. Okay, fear, manipulation, and control. And your intuition is connected to the right side of your brain, your higher intelligence. Your intuition is made up of 3 separate things. And that involves your empathic ability, your psychic ability, your mediumistic abilities. So spirits will come in, for example, and let you know that your intuition is accurate, giving you signs, giving you symbols, visiting you in dreams, ringing your ears and then putting thoughts in your head, sending you songs, right? Numbers, we talked about numbers earlier. They're directional systems when you see number patterns. Your psychic ability will typically show you what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, what you should do about it through visions in your head or through dreams, aka prophecy. When your intuition activates, the right ear rings, it's the psychic ability. When your left ear rings, it's mediumship activating. Okay. You have all of these different systems within intuition that can verify accuracy for you. And I like to ask for proof 3 times if it's a really big deal. Say I'm about to make a huge decision and I am really unsure. I will say, please send me 3 signs. Then the universe, spirit, my higher mind, my ancestors, you know, will give me validation three times in a row. And it's usually in a really compact period of time, like a day and a half or something. And I'm like, all right, there it is. That's all I need. I'm sure this is the right way to go. Now, when it's fear, I'm getting triggered. I'm thinking maybe my gut is telling me this is bad or this is wrong. I'm going the wrong way, possibly, and I'm having flashbacks to trauma. I am feeling that my emotions are taking over. Okay. Intuition is the still, small, peaceful, stable, centered voice. Feelings, fear, ego is emotional, it's meltdowns, it's dysregulated nervous systems, it's heart palpitations, it's irritability, it's exhaustion, it's with bouts of depression, you know, sprinkled in there. It's all the toxic crap, right? and you can't miss it. You really can't. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So get yourself into a pattern, into a habit of every time you need to make a decision, or you want to know if something is your intuition versus your fear, ask for a repetition. I need to see this 3 times to know the difference. Okay. And then also pay attention to those things, your emotional state, your mental state. Is your brain like a mouse on a wheel with this thing? That's fear. Mouse on a wheel, cyclical patterns of negative thought. That's fear. No, that is not high vibrational. Okay. But again, your intuition is the still, small, consistent voice. It never changes. It's the same answer every time. And even if you don't emotionally like the answer, you were hoping for a different answer, you have peace with it. It's hard to explain how you have peace with it, but you do. You may even have like a dopamine hit with it. It's like every time I hear this intuitive insight, I feel high. I feel good, you know? Even though it's not the answer I wanted, it's still right. I am somehow almost like sedated, a little loopy. It feels good. It's divine, yeah, but it's habit forming. Yes. And then you never really have to question it again once you get up over that hump. Okay, we are going to move on to another one. This is Inspired Soul says, why do spirit ancestors choose a person in the family to be what the world thinks is taboo, like being a light worker or spiritual? So it could also come through like being the black sheep or the scapegoat or the seer. Okay, so that's the way therapists refer to it. It's the same thing. It's the same type of contract as a light worker or a spiritual worker, a healer. It is black sheep, it's scapegoat, it's the seer, the truth teller. Sometimes therapists will refer to it as. This is being born into a system where you really don't fit because you chose it. So they didn't choose that for you. You chose that. It's not like your ancestors set you up with your life contract. You set you up with your life contract. So you decided you were going to be born into a family, as did everyone else who chooses to do this, that is going to essentially outcast them or not be able to support them, so that they are forced to rely on their higher mind, the universe, the spirit world, to survive, to thrive, to navigate, given the work. People who are born into cushy situations, it's good times, noodle salad, rainbows, and butterflies, they're not very strong. They're not strong even in knowing themselves. They're not very strong in their character. They're not good under pressure. They tend to never stand for much of anything. Good luck getting these people to ally. Good luck getting these people to march. Good luck getting these people in on the revolution. It's good times, noodle salad. It's just whatever it is. It's just easy peasy, right? There's no fire in the belly. There's no strength. There are no roots. Okay. So when you are born into a combative energy system like that, you are going to get strong fast. It's a sink or swim. And you chose that because the rest of your work on earth is going to be difficult. As a light worker, as a healer, it's not easy to do this work. And you have to be tough. You have to also know what the hell you're talking about. You can't just talk the talk without walking the walk. You have to have gone through the fire to be able to actually get out here and heal the world, to be part of the revolution and the awakening. There's no room for fakers in this. And the easiest way for you to really learn how to alchemize and transmute pain to power is to do it yourself. And that's going to start from birth. Okay. So it's a contract that some of us choose because we are here to do bigger things. I look at, I did a church service last night on It's published now. It's on YouTube here at Ask Ivy the Medium. It was called How I Survived Apocalyptic Times Using Sharp Intuition. And it was sort of like tips for the revolution. It was tips for everybody who doesn't necessarily go through a lot of stuff like that. And I talked about being homeless and thrown out on the streets. My mother kicked me out when I was 9. I talked about surviving 9/11, getting out with 9 days to spare, leaving New York City. I talked about some other things, and I couldn't be talking and teaching on these things or really even helping anyone else unless I went through them. I don't want to be talking about someone else's experience, and it wouldn't land. It wouldn't hit. It never does. You have to do it, so it's a choice. It really has nothing to do with like your ancestors and all of that. However, the ones who also chose to do it probably have some karmic debt to you, and you are probably carrying on their work. And those are typically the spirits that come in and lead you while you are dealing with your life contract. So we see similarities there for sure. All right, we are going to do last call. If there are any other questions coming in, now is the time. What is it, Ezzy? Come join us, Mama. Joelle Big Head Turtle Clan said, is being haunted in your dreams as a kid part of that too? Part of, I'm not sure what you're referring to, but being haunted in your dreams as a kid is typically connected to mediumship. It can also sadly be connected to psychic ability when the human brain simply cannot process the level of tragedy that's about to occur. A child, a lot of adults do it too, will conjure up a fake storyline, and it'll almost seem like it was just a bad dream. It was just a bad dream. It could even be cartoony or full of symbols, but it's actually accurate. It was, a prediction about something that's going to happen. So it could be, yes, it could be connected to kids who have a lot of nightmares and trouble sleeping alone and things like that. It's not always just like monsters, in the closet or monsters under the bed. Sometimes it's life. It's the monsters of life and what's to come. It's hard to feel safe when you see everything that's about to happen. And how bad life can really be. That's too much for a child. And so psychic kids need the support, not the shame, for sure. Yeah. Let's see if there are any other ones coming in. Anna says, why some parents put their responsibilities toward their children, obligating them to work when in fact it is their responsibility in the first place, and kids will focus only in finishing school. Was this let me see the beginning again. Why some parents put their responsibilities toward their children, obligating them to work when in fact it is their responsibility in the first place, and kids will focus only on finishing school. Well, a lot of parents aren't designed to be parents. Like, they should have never done it. They like don't want their kids. My parents certainly didn't want me or my siblings, but especially, with me, they didn't want to have anything to do with raising us. But that was common in the 80s. I don't even really cry about it because like there were a million other kids on the streets when I was homeless on the streets. There were a bunch of us, there are documentaries on this. No one wanted us. This is also why like boomer parents are labeled as being the absolute worst grandparents in the history ever, because they also don't care about their grandkids typically. It's narcissistic tendencies. It's all about them. So they just work. They don't care. They don't care about the kid's education. They don't care about the kid's life. They don't care about the kid's future. It's how can this human being serve me? Because that's how they think in terms of everything. How can this thing serve me? You also have certain situations where parents don't really have a choice. So maybe they do love their kids, but there are poverty issues, or it's cultural that it's not really important. My grandfather was missing 3 fingers from being a farmer in Puerto Rico. He would talk all the time about like only getting into the 6th grade, and then having to work. Um, and he was rough. He was rough with my aunts and uncles, and there were 9 of them, and it was rough on us kids. It's culturally not that he didn't love us, um, but it is a system where things like extras, education, maybe even college aren't as important as like having a trade, helping the family survive, putting food on the table, so it can also sometimes be that, and it's misread. Um, yeah, there are a couple different reasons it happens, but I would say mostly, for people who create a system of parentification where the child, has to oversee the adults and the other kids in the family. It's simply that they didn't want those kids because they want to parent those kids. They had those kids so they could use those kids up or get those kids to labor and work for them. And that's the only reason people used to have children. I mean, back in the 30s and the 40s and my grandfather from France. So I got the one from Puerto Rico who was missing 3 fingers, and then I have one from France. He was one of, I think, 10 kids, Stella, Lorella, Zella. They had the weirdest names. They all rhymed. And he said that he was left repeatedly. They took him one time and left him at the circus. I mean, there's no way he was making these horrible things up. He got left repeatedly, and he would find his way home. I mean, they had him as workers, and he was also working out in the fields. We have pictures of him in France doing farming. Like, I come from farming families, I guess, where it's like, this is what is done, and you're nothing more than a worker. So sink or swim, kid. It's like you got to earn that food. It's brutal. It's brutal, but it really shouldn't be here, anymore in this day and age, certainly. But I think that you see a lot of parents out there who they're not having those kids because they care about those kids, or they're going to do anything to help those kids. They are doing it even because society told them they should do it, and it's part of their false identity. A lot of women have this problem where they think if they don't have their kids by 35 or whatever, they haven't deconstructed from the patriarchy. They're still centering men. They haven't learned to decenter men. They think that their entire value and identity and worth is in pumping out those kids that they don't plan to raise at all. And that's super destructive, but it has always been the way, especially here in America. And we're just starting to wake up to this, and we can blame society, the systems for that. Great question. Christine says, what do you do if it makes you depressing, make you angry, but you choose to be kind and understand people who hurt you? It is so hard to control your temper, right? We all have our own limits. What do you do if it makes you depressed or makes you angry? Hard to control your temper? I think I understand the question. So I don't shame myself for feeling depressed. I don't shame myself for feeling angry. I don't shame myself for lashing out at people. I don't shame myself. I have no shame. I will tell you how it is. I will tell you how you made me feel. I will tell you what you did wrong. I will let you know. And if I did something wrong, I will apologize. I will own it, but I don't give a shit. I don't have any ounce of guilt. I don't feel like I owe anybody anything, and I think that this is where we go wrong in society because we don't hold other people accountable. If someone does you dirty or you see them do someone else dirty, if being around their energy is a freaking drag, okay, if they don't know themselves, if they don't know what a downer they are, if they don't own their energy, if they have done something to insult you to your face, if they're being disrespectful in any way, let them have it, let them know. And if you're not going to let them know directly and put them in check, you can simply pull away and drop them like a ton of bricks and don't let them back in. And I mean, I feel nothing. I feel nothing. I don't even often feel like joy, like I stuck it to him. You know what I mean? Like I literally just don't care. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to see that. It's gross. Okay. And it's irritating because there's so many people out running around like that. You know what I mean? And no one's calling them out on it. So, be the one to cut them off, be the one to call them out. I have no shame. And, especially where anger is concerned, more women, need to get okay with their anger because it is righteous anger. You know, we are angry a lot of the time because of the horrific things that are going on against women. And I think when it happens to one of us, we all feel it, you know. So you don't need to apologize for that. We need to have more righteous anger. You have been told from birth that you are not allowed as a woman to be angry. Okay. I grew up in Puerto Rican culture, so there was no shame in that. You know what I mean? Like, we have a little bit of a feistier, you know, approach to things. So I was never influenced by any of that, but I see it a lot, and I see a lot of disease, you know, which is dis-ease, illness coming from women, their immune systems, and inflammation and cancerous conditions and mental health problems because they're just suppressing it. Let that shit out. Okay. Let people have it. They know what they did. Don't fall for that. They know what they did. They chose that thing. Well, you showed the wrong person today. You're going to find out what the consequences are of that. You know what I mean? We're all too nice. That's how we got in this mess. All right, let's see what else, if there is anything else coming in. Mona says, why do some people use blackmail as their advantage to get what they want? Because they can. Look at Epstein. Look at how successful it is. Blackmail is a way to prove that someone has done something immoral and that they're pretending to be something they're not. Okay, so that can be used as a weapon. Any opportunist, especially if they use a lot of social currency, social strategies, triangulation, gossip, blackmail, you know, throwing other people under the bus, like things like this, they know how to work that blackmail system. And they spot people they can use for it, because those people are also pretending to be something. They're pretending to be moral or ethical, and then behind closed doors, they're not. So if they can get dirt on you, there has to be a reason that dirt was there in the first place, right? So they have no guilt about that. It's like no shame in the game. Like, if you did it, you know what I mean? Then I'm going to use it against you. You know, like, you fell for it, basically. I mean, you fell for it. Now, there are people who try to use blackmail where they're completely lying on someone else and they're making it up. And that is because they can't get ahead on their own accord. They don't have what it takes to succeed to the level that they want. And they are essentially, I would say, potentially criminal. I mean, I think that when people take it that far, whether it's using flying monkeys, they're narcissistic, sociopathic, psychopathic, like whatever it is, I think they are at some point probably going to end up locked up, because that is borderline criminal at all times. And if it's slander or something like that, like, that's not always, I don't think, civil. I mean, I think it's criminal to an extent. I don't know exactly how all that works. I mean, I know it starts as civil, but, you know, they're just clowns, and they can't make it in the world based on their own effort and integrity and character. So they have to take other people down with them, or step on other people's backs to elevate themselves. And they're always up to something. Those people are always, if they're the type who use blackmail to, like, they just blatantly accuse people of things they never even did, like, they are always up to something. You can't trust those people for a second. They are always conjuring, strategizing. They never rest. And you could see it in their face. And they age like sour milk too. It's just hate. It's just hate. Yeah. Yeah. Then just stay away from them. You know what I mean? And collect as much proof as you can as to what they're doing. People like that also have to be, like, attacked and put in place immediately. Camilla says, any advice on how my spouse will be when I leave him? Maybe lessen the stress. Okay, so I'm not doing psychic readings, but Camilla, how can you lessen the stress when you leave him? Well, just stay focused on you. You know what I mean? You're already going in the wrong direction if you're, like, spending too much time on this. I'm not saying asking the question is you going in the wrong direction, but, like, trying to, you know what I mean, sort of predict or overreaching. The relationship probably didn't work out because you didn't have healthy boundaries with this person. So now that you're unloading him, have those healthy boundaries, period, point blank. I don't care how he's feeling. I don't care how he's going to react. I mean, as long as it isn't dangerous and something you really need to worry about. And if you think it will be, get protection, do what you need to do. I had to leave an abusive partner who was, according to the police, a total psychopath, and they were concerned he was, going to off me. And it took me 4 months. I had to strategize how I was going to get out of that. So I played him for a few months, and you know what I mean? I made my way out safely. But he was using the court system. He was using everything that he could. There are psychos out there. There are plenty of them who feel justified in trying to keep you trapped. They can't keep you any other way. So they think they're going to do it through abuse. And if you think you're dealing with something that serious, be prepared. I always had plan A, B, C, D, E in place. I always had police waiting. I had my lawyer ready to go. I had everything ready, and all you can really do is strategize against them. They're not creative. They're super predictable. Everything they do is patterned. It's not hard for you to outsmart them. It's just a matter of time, and how exactly you want to do it. So have your plans in place. And also, when you feel yourself getting back into those old habits that you are finally, kudos to you, free from, where you're not like overreaching. What is he thinking? What is he feeling? What does he need? Celebrate that. Every time you stop yourself, you go, what do I care? What do I care? This isn't your child. This isn't your dog. This isn't your pet. You don't have a responsibility to that. You know what I mean? Let it fall. Enjoy that feeling of disconnect. And just make sure that you are readdressing all of that energy. Like, where's all that energy going to go? A lot of people say, once the relationship is over with, where does the love go? Was there love? I mean, that's, debatable, I think. Define love. But I think that in a situation like this, you were clearly giving too much, so much. And it was like unaccounted for, like it wasn't coming back in. Your cup was not being filled. You're going to want to cut that cord. I have a cord cutting class up on the website, and make sure that every time you catch yourself leaning into his energy, or he's pulling and tugging at your energy telepathically, he's showing up in your dreams, he's energetically still trying to pull you back. Cut that cord again, and make sure you're always mentally redirecting your attention back onto yourself. Nope, he's not popping in my head. How he's feeling, how he's doing, the stress about the whole thing. Nope, none of that. I'm not feeding any of that. Redirecting back onto myself. Maybe you have a cup of tea every single time you catch yourself doing it, and you celebrate you treat yourself to something nice. It's redirecting your mind, because it's been going in the wrong direction for so long. Yeah. Remember, people like this can't really stress you out unless you're letting them. So, have a game plan to beat them. Fuentes says, what does success realistically look like to you today? Do we need to experience failure in order to be successful? Okay, so let me write this down. Okay, what does success realistically look like to you today? What does success? And do we need to experience failure in order to be success? Well, I'm going to go backward on that question. That's an interesting question, because we have been told, all previous generations have told us that we need to work hard, blood, sweat, and tears, in order to get something, stay until retirement. You don't leave, be loyal to these companies. And all they leave you with is like a gold watch, a slight retirement plan, and some tumors, and it's like, we don't want to be like our grandparents. We don't want to be like our parents. We don't want to have anything to do with any of that. And we are the generations to break it. This is understanding that you don't have to go through a ton of, maybe failure or trauma or stress to be successful. it's working smarter, not harder. And the way to get there is by being in alignment with your life contract. So if you know what is within your life contract, and for those of you who are like, what the heck is that? I keep mentioning this. It takes an hour. It's up on my website. It is looking at the 5 to 6 level up opportunities you have in this life, what you signed on to do before you came to Earth. It matches your Vedic or Western astrology, matches your numerology chart. Any of the three will help you out to understand what you came here to do. And as long as you are in alignment with your life contract, you're not going to have to go through a ton of failure. The failures typically come from being out of alignment with your life contract. It's fighting that. It's doing jobs and getting certifications and education and degrees and trainings and stuff that you have no business, being involved with. It's interference that causes the failure most of the time. But being in alignment with your life contract, the ultimate form of success, can sometimes put you through the ringer where it's a little bit of trial and error. It can be a lot of trial and error where it's like, okay, I'm trying this. I thought this was the right thing to do. This didn't really work. Now I have to tweak it. Being in alignment with your life contract can also cause these like shifts in timeline where you're sort of zigging and zagging, and you thought you were working on something that was absolutely imperative and you thought it was going to last a long time. And then like 3 years into it, it's like, the universe is putting that up on a shelf. And now we have to start on this other new thing. You're like, what is going on? That's just part of being in alignment with your life contract. Sometimes you could feel as though that is failure, but I would argue that it is simply an adjustment, a reprioritizing, right? A shifting. It's redirection. Because though that thing that you were working on that was like put on hold, it will come back when it's time. It's an art. Navigating, living within success, which is fulfilling your life contract, is an art. It is. I should do a church service on this. The art of the life contract, or something like that. Okay, watch for that. That'll be coming up. But I think that you have to, when you're living within your life contract, you have to redefine what failure actually is. Is, the failure you're experiencing just your emotions? Is it just your toxic way of thinking from previous programming? Is it being worried that, maybe you were doing something, investing in something, excited about something, taking the unbeaten path, and then it looks like you failed because things changed, all of that is in your control. You don't ever have to see failure as, that. You can just look at it as an opportunity for growth, learning, adjustment, or this thing may come back around. So I'm just going to let it be where the universe is putting it right now. I'm not going to touch that for a while. Okay. That's okay. But I do think that it is important to learn how to take mistakes or failures. I was talking to a client the other day who's very, very, very worried. Well, I don't want to make a mistake with this person. And what are these people thinking? And this higher up, and I don't want to make a mistake. And I don't want to make a mistake. And I just said in the middle of the reading, I normally don't, talk about my own stuff, but I said, you know what? I like making mistakes. I enjoy failure. I enjoy learning lessons because it enters into my brain as something that I will like never do again. It is so ingrained because I went through that experience of failure. It is so ingrained in me now that it's like part of my programming that next time I could do it again, I will choose something better. Whereas watching other people fail or reading about failures, watching a documentary on certain failures, it doesn't hit the same. It doesn't register. Sometimes you have to go through something. And so I invite many, many failures, many mistakes. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. Let it come. It is what it is. I would rather take risks and fail and then fix it and level up than never to try at all. As far as like, I don't know if you're asking about my own success or what does the success look like today? But I mean, my own success in my life is just fulfilling my life contract. And so because I understand my life contract, I've got a whole my whole life is filled. It's going to be this and this and this and this and this. And I'm just going to pound out as many of these things as I can within the time, frame that I have before I kick it. What I don't finish, heaven forbid, if I don't finish, I know I will continue it on the other side. So I completely understand. And that to me is success, is knowing where I'm headed, who I am, what I'm doing, who I'm supposed to be working with, what it's going to look like. Celebrating those wins. Because, coming out of a mentality, being trained up to be like a workaholic or a workhorse, I now, like, I don't want to be like my grandparents. I don't want to be like my parents. I want to be well balanced. That to me is success. And I think that isn't just for me. I think that is the biggest message we can all have, is that we are the new generations. We are burning down capitalism and the patriarchy, and all of these toxic colonized systems. And we are saying, no, we are coming to a place of balance. And that means that I rest. That means that I have joy. That means that I have peace of mind. That means that I don't sell my soul for cash, or I don't succumb to influence and toxic systems. No, I stay on the high ground, moral integrity, an ethical compass. It's like, that is success. And we got a long ways to go, but it feels mighty good, hang out with other people who get it, for sure. That helps a lot, being in the company of other people like that. Okay, we have one from John. What habits help protect your peace daily? Even you feel stress, what do you do to feel good vibes? Do you cut people or ignore them? Okay, so John's question is how to protect peace daily. Ignore or cut people. Okay. So I would say that, it kind of depends on everyone's circumstances. Like, different people are going to need different things, but a rule of thumb is just, that you make sure that when something is stressing you out, you analyze how it got out of balance. Because what most people do is they're like, well, I'll just do yoga, or I'll just meditate, or I'll just have a cup of tea, or I'll just go get my nails done, or, I'll go have a couple drinks, or I'll have some great sex, or I'll, complain about it to a friend. It's like, that's not going to fix it. I mean, that isn't going to prevent it from happening again. If you're getting stressed out, it's a chronic issue that needs to be addressed. So the minute you identify that something is stressing you out, you need to get to the root issue, where it came from, why it's there, and come up with a game plan to get out of it, not just, appease that energy. You need to be bold enough to make the changes that are required. And that's why a lot of people, they don't want to look at the root issue, because that is going to cause sometimes even more stress if we're rocking the boat or we have to create change. But it is the long-term solution. It is the only solution. Okay. So having a willingness to be honest about the situation. And then if they are people that you are able to cut off or ignore out immediately. Yeah. Like, people are a dime a dozen, you know what I mean? Unless they are significant placements in your life, you don't need to be dealing with people like that. If people don't know how to act like adults, it's because they are choosing not to. If they're toxic, cut them immediately, ignore them, block them out. I wouldn't even think twice about that. Okay. But yes, if you are realizing that something is causing the grinding of the teeth, headaches, stress in the neck, the upper spine, you've got stomach problems, you've noticed it maybe just a couple times where it's like, I'm nervous, I'm dysregulated, these things are happening, immediately get to the root issue. Where is this coming from? Why is it here? How can I fix it? And if it requires significant change, then so be it. It will be better in the long run, but don't be complacent and stay in it, because that's way worse. That's way worse to just leave it and let it continuously build. We don't want to have to learn the hard way. Okay, I think we are at time. Just a reminder that for those of you who are looking for a reading or a healing, you can also book a party or a psychic fair. Go to my website, Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. I do work internationally. It's a simple self-booking system. If you are like in India, for example, and the time frames aren't really working out, you can just get a video reading. So that is another option. I will be back on Wednesday for what blessings are coming your way, and on Friday for past life readings, and then again on Sunday for Roots Revival Interfaith. The sermon topic is going to be the art of intimate detachment, loving from a place of safety. So I hope to see you guys for that. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Spirit. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I'll see you Wednesday. Thank you, Ezzy. Thank